There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to a brand new year and a brand new House of Wellness for 2021. My name's Luke Darcy. It's great to be here, reunited with my old partner from last year, Joe Stanley. Welcome, Joe.
Oh, Darcy, it's so beautiful to be back. It's like last year almost didn't happen. Was that a dream? And can you believe it? We are up close and personal with these two guys.
Oh, how good to get the band back together, sitting alongside Gerald Quigley. Welcome to you, GQ. And Hinesy, good to have you back too, mate.
My goodness, guys, so good to be back. It was great to have a holiday, but I'm ready to rip into the year now.
Thanks, Darcy. Look, it is wonderful to be back. We've got so much exciting things happening.
Yeah, and hopefully the break was a chance for everyone to recharge, spend some time with the family. And, Joe, we know the Victorian border opened up just in time to get us away for a bit of a holiday, which was great.
Yes, but New South Wales had its own challenges there.
I tell you what, we turned into walking and talking traffic lights. Depending where you lived, you were green, orange or red. But despite that and your limitations on travel, I think we were just happy to see the backside of last year.
Mm-hmm. But remember, we have got some reassuring news. We have got a vaccine ready to go. The Therapeutic Goods Administration has been very carefully looking at the development of the vaccines. We're watching carefully, and vaccines do two things. They are designed to reduce the risk of transmission, and they're designed to reduce your risk of catching the infection and keeping you out of hospital. So what we need to do now is educate about the benefits, and the world, and Australia particularly, will be a happy place.
Well, GQ, I think this is a really interesting conversation to have. The rollout, the imminent rollout of a vaccine, and whether or not you feel comfortable with that. People are, I suppose, quite rightly reserving their judgment a bit at the moment. How do you feel about it?
Look, a lot of people are asking me, am I going to be first in line? And I love to be first ordering at a restaurant, first on a plane and first off a plane. But in this case, I'm very happy to sit back and let those most vulnerable to get it first. We're talking about frontline healthcare workers, those that are vulnerable health-wise, and quarantine workers, because they're keeping Australia safe and they're doing an amazing job.
Absolutely. Now, enough about jabs, OK? Let's get to other important things, and I have two words for you, Hinesy. Yep. Orange capsicums.
Not the two words I was imagining.
OK. We love innovation and medical breakthroughs on the House of Wellness, and this is just awesome. Research right here in Australia has found that orange capsicums are by far the richest source of the orange pigment called, and I'm going to try this, GQ, zeaxanthin, which sits at the back of the eyes to protect against blue light and therefore macular degeneration. It's amazing.
What we've got to get over, though, is the fact that orange capsicum need farmers to grow them. So we need lots of extra people to get involved.
OK, so while orange capsicums are having their time in the sun, can we just spare a moment and stand up for the chilies? Research out of the US reckons chili eaters live longer, so give me a bunch. Do you like it hot?
I cannot believe that, because my husband is obsessed with the hottest chili possible, and he looks like he's heading for a heart attack every time he eats it. So I can't believe you would live longer eating that way.
I can picture Daz with a red face having eaten too many chilies, Joe, for sure. We're here in Melbourne. The Australian Open tennis kicks off this week, which is brilliant. Hinesy, great to see a big sporting event back in Melbourne.
Look, guys, I know I'm not the panel's biggest tennis aficionado, but what I can say is this. GQ and I will be serving up aces in the kitchen each and every week with everything nutritious and delicious.
Oh, let's hope his cooking's better than his puns.
Hey! Always manage to get food into the conversation. Yeah. Well, what do you think, guys? Time to kick it off?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going to high school, so I'll be treated less like a kid.
It's like just gonna be a whole new experience.
It's really scary.
A big change has arrived for tweens all around the country, and none of them are quite sure what to expect.
I've been told there's a lot more responsibilities, but I'm not quite sure what that means yet.
I want to learn more about the timetables and how it works. I'm scared to give the wrong homework to the wrong teacher.
Sometimes I'm worried that I'll leave it to the last minute to do stuff. So if I have an essay to hand in on Monday, I'll forget it until Sunday.
Lots of people say that they won't get time to do their stuff that they want to. It's full of homework, and
Yeah, that's a bit worries me a bit.
It'll be hours and hours just working.
But navigating the mechanics of school life is not nearly as daunting as the even bigger great unknown.
I wish people would tell me more about the students there so it'll be easier to make friends, because I've seen the girls in my class and I have no idea how to make friends with them because they're all in their like little groups.
In primary school, we all stay in one class with the same teacher, and I'm comfortable around them. So to make new friends is I've forgotten how to do that.
Some high schools tend to have lots of bullies. Bullies just shove people's faces down the toilets, and I don't want that to happen to me. That's gonna feel weird.
With the leap into high school comes increased independence, and that comes with a degree of self-inflicted pressure.
I want to actually have a big challenge. I really want to look like an independent person in my family, to make them proud, and so they don't have to worry about me a lot.
I'm the oldest in my family, and that's kind of a big deal because I have to be the role model. I'm kind of nervous for that.
They keep saying it's a big jump to high school, but sometimes I want to feel like the small kid again.
Yep, it's going to be a big transition. So take a step back in time and remember what it was like when you hit high school.
I really like people to tell me more about their experiences in high school so I can find out what they did different to me. So like give me tips and stuff.
I think what family and friends could do is help me a little more and tell me what to expect, but not too much, so I can learn valuable lessons that will be special to me.
So great to have the kids back at school, though.
It is good, Joe. Good to be back with you. And no secret that we talk a lot about keeping the kids healthy and safe, and we're all on that mission, but have to put my hand up, occasionally muck it up from time to time. Joe, how about you? Can you share with us a parenting fail with Willow?
Oh, absolutely. I am the slackest mum ever, and no doubt our go-to when I can't be bothered cooking, tin spaghetti, and she would have that at least once a month.
My mind goes to maybe at the extreme end, Joe, and I don't think Beck has ever forgiven me for this particular occasion where she left me at home with Max, our youngest, and just said, I'm going out for an hour. Can you look after him? Not a hard thing to do.
No.
And I must have drifted off in my mind and thought, Jesus, quiet at home. I went down the street to get a coffee, forgetting that I had Max at home, and I bumped into Beck. And she was sort of a little concerned that I had not had the one child that she left with me with her at that stage. So it was in the sandpit, it was fine, everything's okay.
That is the last thing you want to hear from your wife. Where's our child?
It wasn't well received.
Look, we all do our best, particularly when it comes to food.
Yep.
We might muck it up every now and then, but it is easier when they're babies because that's the time we're really focused on giving them the most nutritious food and they can't say no. Although they can do that thing where they refuse to let you put the spoon
I was pretty
in their
tough
mouth.
on that. I used to fight through the food. That was my one would. Don't leave the dinner table until you've had tried everything, Joe.
Well, look, according to some research just out of Adelaide, that first year is the most important. So you could have given up after then.
Twin brothers Lincoln and Taj Bradley are just 5 years old, but they've already got a pretty good idea of their favourite foods.
Carrots, apples, bananas, everything.
But while these two can't get enough of their fruit and veggies, many kids their age don't have such nutritious diets, and their health is already suffering.
By the time children are 5 years of age, approximately 1/4 of children are either overweight or obese, and 1/3 of children have had tooth decay.
For the past few years, nutrition expert Dr. Lucinda Bell has overseen a major South Australian study, analysing the link between early eating habits and poor childhood health.
All mothers and their babies born in metropolitan hospitals here in Adelaide in 2013 to 2014 were approached to be involved in the study. And those mothers that consented to be involved completed a questionnaire there and then when their baby was a newborn, and then also again when their child was 3, 6, 12 and 24 months of age, and then again at 5 years of age.
Lincoln Taj's mum Claire was one of 2,000 mothers who participated in the study. As if raising her 4 kids wasn't enough of a handful, For each questionnaire, Claire had to note down every single thing she was feeding her family.
Everything, what sort of meat, what sort of fruit, if they have lollies, ice cream, yoghurt, just went forever. Very comprehensive.
So in this data set, we have the dietary data from the 12-month time point when children were 1 year of age, approximately. And we've got by row each food item that they consumed. So this particular participant had some toddler milk, bread, margarine, banana, biscuits, pumpkin, sweet potato, yoghurt, pear, cheese and chicken nugget and potato for the day. So in this particular study, we found that most 1-year-olds were eating fruit. However, only half were eating orange and green vegetables over the 3-day period, which we know are really key to a healthy diet. We also found that about 1/3 of the 1-year-olds were eating sugary products such as sugary cakes and biscuits, flavoured yogurts and also processed meat. And we know that this is quite important because they either contain sugar or are high in energy or calories, and these are both key contributing factors to tooth decay and weight gain.
The frequency of toothbrushing.
As part of the study, each child also received regular dental examinations. The results were analysed by oral epidemiologist Lok Gyang Do, who found a clear link between kids' diets and a type of tooth decay called early childhood caries.
We have reported that children who had high level of sugar intakes had almost 2 times higher the risk of having early childhood caries at the age of 2 years. In Australia, ECC is a major factor for children being admitted to hospital for treatment under general anaesthetics. So ECC is clearly a public health problem that we need to address.
What our children eat doesn't just impact their short-term health. Research shows that we form most of our food preferences within the first few years of life. So Dr. Bell says it's crucial that parents pay closer attention to what they feed their kids.
What we'd like to see is perhaps some of those key messages around offering a healthy diet to children often and exposing them to healthy foods as often as possible to help increase children's desire to like and taste healthy food. We know that it can be really difficult to get children to eat healthy food, but just to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint.
You know, I can believe that about 1/3 of 1-year-olds eat biscuits and cakes and processed meats because it is hard to get food into your children. And I don't think we should judge parents for that because sometimes you just get desperate.
Yeah, no judgment, Joe, but it is rewarding when your kids develop a bit of a palate for healthy food and understand that when they eat something fresh and not processed, that they feel a bit better. That's a nice sort of phase to get through that one.
Yeah, that's Parent of the Year. How good do you feel about yourself? And now my daughter, who's 11, she's engaging with her own eating to the point where she cooked us fish tacos the other night.
Willow did?
Yes! How
At
good
11
is
years
that?
of age,
It's like I've got my own little chef. I feel like Oprah. She's just going to cook for me forever on now.
Welcome back. Well, it seems there's an additional name for every month of the year, Joe, and for just about every week too, even the days. There's Dry July, September, Movember and more. And now you can add Red Feb to the list as well.
So think February and think red. It's the colour that's most associated with heart, and because heart disease remains our biggest killer, the timing of Red Feb couldn't be better.
Which is why cardiologist Dr Andras Elms is here. Thanks for coming in, Andras.
Thanks so much, Luke and Joe, for the opportunity.
Great to have you with us. There is something that is close to my heart, pun intended. I hear a lot of stories, and know guys particularly, men who have ignored the pains in their arm and their chest with not always the best outcome. What are the biggest assumptions you can make about a heart episode?
Yeah, so it's really important point, Luke, that men they delay the recognition of symptoms that could be a heart attack. And with women experience different symptoms to men when it comes to heart attacks. So with Red Feb, we just want to make people aware that heart disease can present in many different ways, typically with chest pain, but can also present with shortness of breath, fatigue, sweating, those sort of things. So being aware of the symptoms of heart disease enables us to act more quickly, and that leads to better outcomes in the longer term.
So where does the story of the classic pain in the chest and the pain up the arm come from? Is that factual?
It's true. So that's the classic description, but might only be 50% of patients describe a central chest discomfort, sometimes like a heavy pressure or a weight. And then sometimes you can get involvement down your left arm. So just the nerves that go to the heart and then refer pain, they go to the centre of the chest, sometimes down the arm, and even sometimes up the neck into the jaw. So we've seen jaw pain, arm pain by itself, but classically all together, chest, arm, jaw pain. That's the classical description, but not always.
And Andrews, is a common urban myth that this heart disease is mainly something that affects men. Is that in any way accurate? Men
are affected a little bit more, but when women get affected, the outcomes are worse because women don't recognise the symptoms being heart-related. Even when they come to hospital, we may not be as quick to take someone to the angiogram suite to open up a blocked artery. And we also know that medications aren't used in women as much as men after a heart event occurs when they're discharged from hospital.
So I'm hearing that a lot of people delay calling an ambulance,
Yes.
and that can be a real problem too.
Absolutely. So as part of RedFeb, we want people to be aware of the symptoms of heart disease. And so you can go online to heartresearch.com.au. There's a free pocket guide called Heart Smart, which will go through every symptom that you need to be aware of. There'll be some symptoms that are classic for heart disease. Some symptoms may be due to heart disease, but can be due to other things. But if you can be aware of the possible symptoms that are there, and if there's no other explanation, you've got to call 000 early.
And don't feel like you're putting the ambulance out. If you've got symptoms, you need to respond.
Absolutely.
Surely.
We've got plenty of patients who come into hospital, they get checked with some blood tests and an ECG, and then everything's fine. We send them home, sometimes with another test, such as a stress test, and that gives us all some reassurance. We just don't want to hear about family members who have waited, something bad's happened at home, and then you can't go back and make that choice again.
We all know a lot about living a healthy lifestyle and a balanced diet. Is there something that we're missing with heart disease?
I think it's being proactive with your own health. You've got to take responsibility for your risk factors. If you don't get your blood pressure checked, if you don't get your cholesterol checked, if you don't stop smoking, how are you going to be able to do the things you need to prevent heart disease in the future? And you've got to think about your loved ones as well, not just yourself, but in the end, it's you that's driving the show.
Is there an age at which we should be really on top of those sorts of tests and those checkups?
It's a really good question, Jo. I think, first of all, you should look at your family history. If there's a lot of family members who have succumbed to early heart disease, we're talking about people having heart attacks in their 30s or 40s or strokes in that sort of age group, then you might need to see your GP a little bit earlier because sometimes you can get inherited risk factors for heart disease like high cholesterol or high blood pressure. But without putting a specific age on it, I think once you hit adulthood, you need to start having a chat with your GP just about where your risk might be. The older you get, the higher the risk, of course.
So otherwise healthy people who live, a good routine of exercise, are they not at risk for heart disease, or you should say everyone should be aware of it?
I think everyone should be aware of it because one of the problems here with heart disease is you can have no symptoms whatsoever, have a sudden heart attack, which is a blocked artery that occurs within seconds, and then you can have a cardiac arrest and that can be game over. So the problem with heart disease and even the risk factors for heart disease like high blood pressure and high cholesterol, you don't necessarily feel any symptoms beforehand. And we've had patients who have been going to go overseas to do maybe the London Marathon or New York Marathon. They say, oh, just check my heart out first, and we end up referring them for heart surgery before they go. So the absence of symptoms shouldn't be reassuring when it comes to heart disease.
The stats say it all, Jo. Every day, 1 in 20 people die from a heart attack, so the message cannot be clearer. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Andrews. We appreciate your time today.
Welcome to the House of Wellness Kitchen, where GQ and I pump out some pretty incredible dishes, but dishes with real purpose. And today we're actually highlighting a mineral that is involved with more than 300 chemical reactions in the body.
That'll be mighty magnesium, Heinzie. I know it's really your favourite because of all the exercise you do, but it's so important for muscle health.
Mate, I'm a massive fan. It might be as simple as a light walk on the beach with Kira and Chia, or something a little bit full on in the form of a high-intensity interval class, but movement is so important. I mean, we're talking for our brain health, our strength and our overall well-being, and our muscle health comes into that in a big way.
Heinzie, we've got more than 600 muscles in our body, and sometimes I think we underestimate the role that they play. It's important for movement, as you said, but also it helps us with our temperature, our breathing, our heartbeat, even chewing.
Mate, we need our chewing muscles so that we can enjoy these choc avocado bickies I'm whipping up.
Absolutely, Heinzie. When it comes to maintaining muscle function, magnesium is the hero.
The awesome part is we can actually find it in a heap of foods, including chocolate. We're talking the dark variety here, which I'm actually including in today's recipe, along with avocado, which is massively high in magnesium, and things like spinach, seeds and bananas.
Heinzie, it's really important to maintain those magnesium sources because magnesium is fundamentally involved in muscle contraction and muscle relaxing. So if you get some aches or pains or spasms, you may be low in magnesium.
Mate, I've been there and it is not fun at all. So my advice, guys, is focus on things like high fibre foods, green leafy vegetables, unrefined grains and beans, and you should be good to go. Now, speaking of good to go, these are ready to go into the oven.
And if you're time poor, Heinzie, another convenient source of magnesium is an unflavoured magnesium tablet or a flavoured magnesium powder that becomes a delicious drink.
Mate, sounds like the perfect combo to go with my choc avocado bickies. How about we have one of these and go for a run?
You go for the run. I'll take one of those.
That'd be right. The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Ethical Nutrients, Australian Pharmacy's #1 magnesium brand.
Well, you know, Joe, they say that crying is not only a human response to sorrow or frustration, it's also a very healthy one.
Oh, it's a huge stress reliever. I also feel so much better after a big tearful purge. I actually love it. I love a good cry.
I have no idea if Dr. Nick Carr cries much or if he does at all, but what I do know is that he's got all the answers on all the weird and wonderful things we humans do, and today he's looking at exactly why we turn on the waterworks.
When I was little, I remember skinning my knees and bursting into tears. And even then, I remember thinking, older kids and adults don't cry when they hurt themselves. How is that even possible? Well, when we're babies, crying is a basic response to things like distress, hunger, and pain. But as we grow up and our brains mature, we realise that discomfort is short-lived, and suddenly, bingo, no more tears with the skin's knees. Now, let's do some basic anatomy and physiology. Tears are produced by little things called lacrimal glands under our upper eyelids. They are really good at their job because they can produce up to 100 litres of tears every year. And some of those tears go down our tear duct from the corner of the eye to the nose, which is why when we cry, we get the sniffles. There are 3 main types of tears. The first one, and perhaps the most important, are called basal tears. And these are the working tears that keep our eyes healthy and clean all day long. Basal tears are stuffed full of proteins and antibacterials, and they're a really good moisturiser for your eyeballs. The second type of tear are the reflexive tears, and these are the ones that protect your eyes from hurt from things like dust and the acid stinging of onions. And we'll come back to onions later on. But the third type are the emotional tears, and these are the ones that we shed when we're upset. And when we cry emotional tears, we also release other hormones like oxytocin, which is our cuddle soothing hormone, and pain-killing hormones like endorphins. And perhaps this is one reason why we feel so much better after a good cry. There's a fourth kind of tears called crocodile tears. Now, these are the fake tears that we shed when we're looking for sympathy, as in, "Oh, officer, I didn't mean to go so fast. Please don't give me that speeding ticket." Sob. The word crocodile tears comes from an ancient Greek story, which said that crocodiles would cry to lure in their human prey and then shed tears while eating them. Funnily enough, recent research has shown that crocodiles actually do cry while they're eating. Perhaps not so funny if you're the one on the menu. Now, going back to onions and why they make you cry. When we chop an onion, it releases an acid that becomes a vapour, gets into the eye and stings. Now, there are loads of ways to stop that happening, but my favourite is this. Turns out the vapour is soluble in water and your tongue is moist. So if you stick your tongue out while you chop the onion, it absorbs the acid, no more stinging eyes. You do look pretty silly chopping an onion with your tongue out, so maybe make sure no one else is in the kitchen. Oh, and don't kiss anyone afterwards, unless they really love the taste of raw onion. Ooh.
100 litres of tears a year. That could fill a bathtub. And for me, I reckon I could fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool. What about you, Hines? Are you much of a crier?
Oh, Joe, guilty as charged. Massive crier. Cry if I'm happy, but also cry if I'm sad. And if someone else is crying, all bets are off.
Oh, you're a sympathy crier.
Yeah, totally. But as a guy, I reckon it's really important to cry and show emotions because it's fantastic to let it go for your mental health.
I absolutely agree, Das. I love seeing men being expressive and feeling that they have permission to share how they're feeling.
I was once described as not having tear ducts, Joe, which isn't a... I'm not sure a compliment, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding I'm getting a lot more emotional and the tears are flowing much more freely, which is definitely a good thing.
Shoulder to cry on any time here, Das.
I need you guys to hold it together because how good is this epic kitchen? I've got to say, the new location for us this year is so good. I've even got myself a coffee machine. So I've brought the goods today. I've whipped up my favourite, a bullet coffee, to get the vibes pumping for this first show. So take one, Das.
Thank you, mate.
Yes,
Get into it.
Now, remind me again why this is so great for me.
Mate, simple combo. Grass-fed butter, MCT oil, coffee. Blitz them up together, you've got something that keeps you firing all day long. Your mood's rocking through the roof, your hormones are balanced, and you've got that caffeine focus all the way through. So, guys, bottoms up.
Cheers.
Yeah, baby. Here's to 2021.
Woo! It's going to be a good one.
Welcome back. You're watching the House of Wellness. Well, right now, our man Hinesy has not so much a bone to pick, Joe, but one to boil. And I'm talking for hours and hours.
And hours and hours, Das. And I don't know why I'm asking this because I think I know the answer, but have you ever tried to make Hinesy's bone broth?
Haven't got around to it yet.
Well, you'd have to put aside 2 whole days.
Have you done it?
No, I don't have that much time. But bone broth is to the 2020s what the Margaret Fulton cookbook was to the 70s. It's on trend and packed full of pure protein. Here's Hinesy.
Some might say that this isn't the time of year for bone broth, but you know what? I reckon any time is great because it contains something I know you're a massive fan of, Jade, collagen.
I'm definitely out of my element being in here. I'm all about makeup, beauty, skincare, and I'm glad you're the one doing the cooking. But you're right about one thing. I am all about collagen.
Totally. I'm always hearing you talk about strong nails, smooth skin, silky hair. This is totally your domain.
100%, and I can't wait to taste this. And I really appreciate the 12 hours you have spent slaving away making that bone broth. But I've got a much quicker, more convenient way.
So, PJ, I don't know if you are aware, but traditionally, collagen products are actually made from animal sources.
I did learn that recently, and I think it's kind of deceiving when you see these products. They never state it.
No.
On a lot of the labels, you're like, oh, what is that? It's collagen. It's good for my skin. But
actually, if you are after a vegan or plant-based collagen, the Q-Silica Pro Collagen capsules are really amazing for that.
So what's actually in the product?
So it's got a wheat seed extract that is actually known as ceramicides and amazing other ingredients like vitamin C, antioxidants, which helps your body to actually produce the collagen itself.
That's what we want.
That's exactly what we want. Once we hit 25 plus, like myself, we unfortunately lose the natural ability to produce collagen. And collagen gives you that beautiful glow, that amazing skin texture and tone that we all want. And above everything, it gives you hydration. And if you have that hydration, you have that beautiful, flawless finish all over your skin that we're all after. So PJ, it's super easy and convenient for people like you and I, busy,
We don't have the best memories. It's just 1 capsule a day with a glass of water.
And it's ingestible beauty, you know, it's highlighting beauty from within instead of without. And I suppose if you do that with drinking lots of water and having a good diet, then that's a really good daily routine.
Amazing routine. Luke, I love that there are plant-based and vegan products out there so that no one misses out on benefits of products like collagen.
Well, I don't want you to miss out on the deliciousness of the bone broth I've whipped up.
I don't either.
What do you think?
It smells so good. Can't wait to try it. Tastes good too.
OK, while you're sipping away, as the name suggests, bone broth is great for our bone health. But did you know our bone formation is complete between the ages of 13 and 18?
No, I didn't. So does that mean that I won't be as tall as you one day?
Yeah, no, sadly not, Jade. But the good news is Jo is here to tell us all about how we can look after our bone health.
Is it the case that some people seem to have stronger bones than others? Because I remember at school there were kids that always broke their arms, they fell off the monkey bars, and I've never broken a bone in my body.
The key thing is there's a genetic determinant of it. So you genetically inherit your parents' bones. The other thing during growth, which is really interesting, is our bone grows in length and then it grows in thickness, and sometimes in that in-between period, they call it transient fragility. So people can actually break bones, young people, during that time. So often you're right, some kids do break them quite often and others, like yourself, are spared the cast.
So are there things that are bad for our bones?
Bones actually adapt to loading. So the more we load them, the stronger they are. So if we stop unloading our bones, which means we're sedentary, we don't do any exercise, our bones will adjust to that level of what's needed. Classic example, if you look at astronauts when they go into outer space, no gravity, no loading, and they lose lots and lots of bone.
So this is why we're told we should do weight-bearing exercise. Is that what that's for?
Yeah, absolutely. So weight-bearing exercise is, I mentioned before, the forces. It puts forces on the bone and the bone responds by maintaining its size and its strength.
Can you explain to us why we're told that sunlight is good for our bones?
Yeah, look, the key reason is we, humans and animals, are designed to make our own vitamin D. So our vitamin D we produce in our skin when it's exposed to the UV from the sun. And with that vitamin D, that then helps us to absorb calcium in the intestine. The beauty of when we're out in the sun is that our body will naturally switch off the production when it reaches the right amount of vitamin D in the blood. So it has its own little switch-off mechanism.
So can weak bones be made healthier and stronger if we're eating the right foods?
Look, once we've finished our growth, so after puberty and we've consolidated the bone, almost that's what we've got to start with in adulthood. So if our bones are weak then, we can't actually add more bone to it. The process of adding bone has finished. So all we can do is maintain what we've got. And that's going back to the basics, going back to weight-bearing exercise, eating enough calcium.
You know what else Dr. Sandy told me, Das? That a study in the US found that women who jump 10 times a day, twice a day, get an improvement in their bone density. So guess what I've been doing?
Fair bit of jumping, Jo.
Yeah, and the pelvic floor is holding up, which I'm happy to report.
When you say jumping, what have you been doing? Just jumping up and down?
Sometimes skipping, but
Okay.
sometimes just jumping. In my trainers, it's great. At home exercise. So you don't look slightly deranged at all.
I'm sure your neighbours aren't weirded out by it at all. Now, I'm not sure if jumping can do anything to relieve stress, but would you believe there's a weed that can? We'll tell you more about that right after the break here on the House of Wellness.
I'm Reese Carter, naturopath, nutritionist and total herb nerd. I'm going to teach you everything I know about herbs, from growing them to using them in food, as well as some of their traditional therapeutic uses. Even if you've never grown them before, you're probably going to recognise these two herbs. They're two of my favourite culinary herbs. We've got flat leaf parsley and we've got basil over here. They're actually super easy to grow, so even if you think you're a black thumb, give it a go. They both want a lot of light, like most herbs do. You'll also want to water them quite regularly, And the only difference really is that basil's going to need a little bit more enrichment in the soil. Parsley will be a bit more forgiving in that regard. But the number one tip I would have if you're starting a herb garden for the first time is just make sure you're finding a spot that gets 6 to 8 hours of sunlight most days. Another great herb to grow in the garden is mint. Cultures all around the world have used mint as a digestive aid, and it's believed to be the oils in the leaves that may contribute to that effect. Now, peppermint is best, but any mint will do in a pinch, and you can just grab a handful of the leaves, chop it up into a fresh leaf tummy tea and enjoy. And the best part, it is so easy to grow. In fact, you'll probably need to rein it in, if anything. I love to grow it in pots or containers because left unchecked, it will send these runners out all over your garden and just take over. Unlike the other herbs we've looked at in the garden today, rosemary does not require much water at all. In fact, it only wants to be watered once, maybe twice a week, and it needs a really free-draining soil to help pull that water away so it doesn't get waterlogged. Apart from that, plenty of sunshine, and that will make sure that it develops the essential oil so it smells the way that rosemary is meant to smell and taste the way it's meant to taste. Whether we're using it on our lamb dishes, whether it's with roast potatoes, or my favourite, with mushrooms. We've also got lavender, which you may not think of as a herb, but it's been used in a lot of traditional remedies for stress and relaxation and for sleep. The easiest way to kind of use it at home, firstly, grow it in a very similar way to the way you would grow rosemary. They have very similar needs and grow beautifully together. And then come out, pick off a few flower heads. You can either crush them and pop them underneath your pillow slip so that you can smell that beautiful lavender smell, or pop them straight into a tea. They don't have to be dry, they can be fresh. And I've actually spied another herb over here in the garden that works beautifully as a fresh leaf tea with the lavender for stress and sleep. Tucked away over here in the corner is lemon balm. And it's one of my favourites. If you like a sleepy tea at night but you don't love the floral taste of chamomile, lemon balm is for you. It works really well in a fresh leaf tea. Grab a handful, chop it up and steep it in boiling water, and it combines really, really well with lavender.
Now, Gerald, I did not make any New Year's resolutions going into 2021 because I think after the year we had last year, we've all learned to just take each day as it comes.
Let's put 2020 to one side, Joe, and move on. We've all learned that the things that are important to us are the simple things, family, friends, but what we have learned is perhaps how to settle down and focus on tackling stress and managing anxiety.
Absolutely. Now, we can't eradicate stress altogether, but there are ways of managing, and there's a great way to stay on top of stress naturally.
In small doses, stress can have some positive effects, but repeated heavy stress can take a toll.
When you're experiencing stress, the body's reacting as if you're being threatened. So the body then releases certain hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol to help you combat that stress response. Your heart rate and blood pressure starts to rise, your breathing becomes more rapid, and your muscles also tighten. With this comes along the feeling of being more focused, stronger, and more energetic. The negative connotations of stress, however, is usually when that fight or flight response happens at a more chronic rate. So, for example, if that particular stress is happening for a lot longer than just that one period of time.
Naturopath Victor Tabala acknowledges stresses are all around us, from our workplace, relationships, bank accounts, and even our own body. But an unexpected ally can help.
Mother Nature has provided us with an amazing array of herbs that helps us to deal with the symptoms of stress. However, most people would normally see them as common weeds. St John's wort's a herb that grows all over the world. In many parts of Australia, St John's wort is actually considered a pest weed because it can overgrow and overtake normal pasture, which of course can affect livestock. The part of the plant that we use from St John's wort are the beautiful yellow flowers or the flowering tops. Several scientific studies have evaluated St John's wort in its effects in helping to achieve a healthy mood balance. It can also help with mood swings, particularly for individuals who are suffering from premenstrual tension, and also it can be useful as a herb to help with relieving the symptoms of mild nerve pain, such as mild sciatica. We have herbs that can help target just general stress, but also certain symptoms of stress. So when it comes to general stress, look no further than the herb ashwagandha. When it comes to symptoms relating to mild anxiety and having issues with falling or maintaining sleep, look to the herb kava. Such herbs have been used for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. With such a large area of health concerns relating to stress, it's reassuring to know that Mother Nature is nurturing us with providing us with a large number of remarkable herbs to help us deal with the symptoms of stress.
2020 was one of the most stressful years many of us have ever experienced, GQ. New challenges, I'm sure, this year, but we've had a taste of a new life, that's for sure. Heinzie?
Mate, I just saw that the incredible Dexter Kruger, who is Australia's oldest person, he lives up in Queensland. He just turned 111, would you believe? He has lived through the Great Depression, both world wars, numerous droughts, everything in between. And he said the secret to a good life is to keep breathing and have 3 meals a day.
Wise words, Heinzie. I also read that he whistles and sings and eats 6 prawns every day, hopefully without the shell.
Yeah, and takes the poop chute out as well. It's the prawns, I tell you what.
Delicious. Well, Dexter was born in 1910, but this year we will reportedly have many babies born, the pandemic babies. So it seems that some of us had quite a good time in lockdown.
Is that right? Got some news for us, Joe? Nothing happening. Well, we've kicked off 2021 in style here at the new home of the House of Wellness. Great to see you all in person and not on a screen. Always good to catch up. If you'd like more information on the show, check out our website, houseofwellness.com.au. Don't forget to tune into the House of Wellness radio show with Joe and GQ every Sunday. And as always, thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you next time.